Today I want to talk about elevated shoulders. Elevated shoulders can cause neck tension, chronic shoulder tension, upper back tension, sometimes chest tension. How do we change that? We change that very simply by grounding the shoulder blade. You're going to take the point of the shoulder blade, right? The shoulder blade is this little angle at the bottom of it. And you're going to take that point, you're just going to send it to the opposite hip, 10% of engagement. Try not to engage the arm. Sometimes people like to pull the arm back with it. We're going to isolate the movement. So the movement starts here, the tip of the shoulder blade, and you're going to see this latissimus dorsi and this lower trapezius muscle. Those are the only things I want to try to engage as I drop that shoulder blade down and toward the opposite hip. This engagement is maybe 10% of my effort. It's not a ton of effort. It causes the shoulders to drape over the rib cage, right? So the rib cage sits here, and the shoulders, they're all soft tissue structures except for the one point of contact that's bone on bone, which is right here. So this is the most mobile joint of your body. It's mobile so that we can do dynamic exercises with it. We can use it for a lot of things. It's a really great joint, but we need to be grounding it with the soft tissue because nothing else is grounding it. Unlike the hip, which is much more stable, it still has a lot of movement, but it's much more stable. It has a lot more bony connection with the center of the spine at the pelvis. So this is so much soft tissue. And if something's in dysfunction, likely you're doing it in some way to yourself because you're holding that chronic tension there. It could be scar tissue, it could be a lot of other things also, but there's a certain percentage of that which is your own participation with your body, which is probably unconscious, is for so many people. And what that looks like often is the shoulders are elevated. So the clavicle makes a V shape when they're elevated. And when I'm in this V shape, everything I'm doing with my arms, I'm using my neck in some way to like lift that weight. So if I'm lifting a piece of luggage, I'm lifting it with my neck, as opposed to lifting it with my arm. So a good practice is when you're holding something heavy, just allow those shoulders to drop and do the lift. There's also a couple ways that you can engage the muscles that are supposed to be activated all the time, at least have a certain level of what I like to call default resting tone. And how do we increase that default resting tone? But we put neurological impulses into that muscle. The way we do that is very simple. You can just use an exercise band. They sell these very cheaply on the internet. You can buy like a whole set of them for like $30. They work great. They last a long time. I got one here. This is a Weck Method band. I like his stuff. I'm going to just put it over here so I can just show you this movement in my shoulder. So I'm going to start with my shoulders elevated, and I'm going to first thing I'm going to do, first thing to draw the arm down should be dropping the shoulder blade. So I'm going to drop the shoulder blade just like we showed, and it's going to widen my shoulders, and then I can go into my pull down. I hope that can show up. I'll just do one side, which is like that, right? And you can see those muscles that are activating. Sometimes when people are doing these pull downs, they want to do them up here with the shoulders, and this is just going to increase the dysfunction in the shoulder. It's going to let all these muscles here overtake these muscles in the back. It's a very common pattern in a lot of people. They're like doing all this stuff with their shoulders up. So we're going to want to just draw the shoulders down. If it's a struggle for you here, you should lower the weight, use the lightest band you can find, which is fairly light. It's a great way to start, especially if you have these other compensation patterns, because those compensation patterns are going to want to take over, and you really got to do the lowest amount of weight, the weight that these muscles back here can handle. If these guys are weak, you need to be doing a pretty light weight. If you're going to do a pull-up, you can do a pull-up in the same way, but this is a much more advanced thing, and you got to make sure those shoulders are dropping. The kinetic chain of movement starts at the shoulder blades, so we want to drop the shoulder blades first, widen the shoulders before we come up into the pull-up. You can just start with this. If this movement is hard for you, this is the main way to start with a pull-up. You can then continue up once you can stabilize your shoulders, but you really don't want to go up if your shoulders aren't stabilized and aren't able to drop. So that's how you get your shoulders to drop. You can also be doing stretches. Stretches, like this is a great one. I'm going to drop that shoulder down. Again, I'm engaging those muscles in the back. And I'm going to let you see how that looks in the back. I'm going to engage the muscle in the back, drop the shoulder down, and then I'm going to stretch the neck like this. That's a really great isolated stretch at the levator scapula. And this levator scapula often is locked in place when you have this issue. You can also lay down on my deep tissue roller to hit the same spot with the blades on either side of your neck right here. That works great. Do some neck movement while you're laying there is an excellent way to do it. But really, you usually need to start with some strengthening, some activation. And remember, this activation is about just putting neurological impulses into those muscles. We're not trying to like get them big or make them super strong to start with. That can come later. But to start, you just want to turn them on. You want to wake them up. You want to let them know that they're alive. Oftentimes, when these are underused, the body just shuts off the neurological impulse completely, and it's a real challenge to wake it up. So you got to take your time. It's going to take a while, especially if you're older. Because if you're older, your body's no longer making muscle spindles. You're going to have the same spindles you had when you were young. Around like 30, the body stops making them. So you cannot overwork these muscles if they've been underused for your entire life. You really need to be gentle and you need to be slow. And again, we're going to just draw the shoulder blade down the back. It's just this movement, right? And one of the common things I see is people draw the shoulder blade down the back, but they engage all this arm stuff also, right? So we just want to draw the shoulder blade down the back. You'll see that the arm is shifting its position, but I'm not engaging it, right? I'm just allowing it to drop. And again, I'm looking for these muscles here and here. Good luck. Let me know if you got any questions in the comments, and I am happy to answer them. Thanks so much.